Hare Krishna, welcome back. So today we are going to continue with the series of verses, a very important section in this 10th chapter. This is called the Chatushloki Bhagavad Gita, the 4 verses. Krishna is going to explain the essence of the Bhagavad Gita in these 4 verses. So I request devotees to pay attention. And also, yesterday we saw how the Lord, in the first 7 verses, is establishing the point that He is the cause of all the causes. He is the cause of all the great rishis. He is the cause of all the devas, and also He is the cause of the Manus. He is the cause of the Kumaras, the Sapta rishis. All those things we saw yesterday. So Krishna, in the 7th verse, he makes the point, Ekam vibhuti yogamcha amayu veti tattva so vikalpena yogena yujyate natra samshaya. So this is the point. So vikalpena yogena. So without any hindrance, without any division, we engage in unalloyed devotional service. A devotee who has understood the Lord's opulence, who has understood the laws of mystic power, he is going to engage in the pure devotional service that we discussed yesterday. So now, let's see what the Acharyas are speaking about it before we enter the verse. Describing the bhakti belonging to the highest devotees in the 4 verses. The Lord describes the real nature of Himself, which generates and manifests that bhakti. So in these 4 verses, we can see how the Lord is really giving an opportunity to these surrendered devotees, how he personally takes care of his devotees and how he brings them back to his abode. So these will be explained in these verses. So here if we see Baladevi Devotion Prabhu is explaining, the Lord describes the real nature of Himself. What is His nature? How He is so dear to His devotees, that we can see. And also, He is the one who generates and nourishes the bhakti in the heart of His devotees. Text 8. Aham sarvasya prabho mattas sarvam pravartate iti matva bhajante mam buddha bhava samanvitaha. I am the source of all spiritual and material worlds. Everything emanates from me. The wise who perfectly know this engage in my devotional service and worship me with all their hearts. The 4 verses, what we're going to see, these are, whether it was given in the previous list or not, you must learn these 4 verses. Very important. And also you can make a note, the 2nd verse in this chapter so far, that also is to be learned. That is maybe not be in the list, you can add it. Aham adirhi devana. So please add that verse also to the list. So now Krishna is explaining, Aham sarvasya prabhu. So I am the sarvasya of everything. I am the source of generation of everything. Matta sarvam pravartate. And everything is emanating from me, Krishna is saying. Everything is emanating from me. So iti matva. So one who has understood this, bhajante mam. He engages in my devotional service. Buddha bhava samanvitaha. So how he engages in his service, in his devotional service? He worships, he engages in his service with his full heart. He's being convinced of the Lord's mystic opulence and the Lord's vibhutis and the Lord's power and how He is the cause of everything. He, with full attention, with full heart, he absorbs in Buddha bhava samanvitaha. How the Lord He is the cause of everything and how He is the source of everything. So there are so many references that Srila Prabhupada gives from the scriptures, and we can see, as we saw in so many purposes, Srila Prabhupada's This is at the beginning also we saw the introduction, this book he dedicates to to Baladev Vidyabhushana, who wrote the Govinda Bhashya. So we can see the commentary here, how all the different quotes Srila Prabhupada is referring of his commentary. A learned scholar who has studied the Vedas perfectly and has information from authorities like Lord Chaitanya and who knows how to apply these teachings can understand that Krishna is the origin of everything in both the material and spiritual worlds. And because he knows this perfectly, he becomes firmly fixed in the devotional service of the Supreme Lord. He can never be deviated by any amount of nonsensical commentaries or by fools. So this is a very important point, because after having heard in Parampara how Krishna is the cause of all causes, how everything is emanating from him, both the spiritual world and the material world, how he is sustaining everything, and philosophically being convinced, a devotee, he will not be carried away by anyone's false statements. Like someone says, actually, Shiva spoke the Gita. Someone says, from where it is? What is the source? Shiva spoke the Gita. Show them some pramana where it is. So like there's so many things. I mean, it's not a devotee who heard it in parampara, who has a proper understanding. He will not be fooled by such kind of statements. So Srila Prabhupada here, you can see one after the other from the scriptures, he gives references how Krishna is the cause of all the great demigods, Brahma, Shiva, and other demigods as well. Yo Brahmanam vidadhati purvam, yo vai vedanscha khapayati sma Krishna. It was Krishna who in the beginning instructed Brahma in Vedic knowledge and who disseminated Vedic knowledge in the past. Atah purusho vai narayano kamayata praja sujayati. Then the Supreme Personality, Narayana, desired to create living entities. So we saw already, Sa aikshata, sa asrijjata. So the Lord desired, then he says Narayana. Who is the source of Narayana? It is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So then the Narayana Upanishad continues. Narayana Brahma Jayate, Narayana Prajapati Prajayate, Narayana Indro Jayate, Narayana Ashto Vasavo Jayante, Narayana Ekadasha Rudra Jayante, Narayana Dvadashadityaha. From Narayana, Brahma is born, and from Narayana, the patriarchs are also born. From Narayana, Indra is born. From Narayana, the 8 Vasus are born. From Narayana, the 11 Rudras are born. And from Narayana, the 12 Adityas are born. The sound is a little strange. And who is the cause of Narayana? Narayana is the expansion of Krishna. We already saw there are references in the Laghu Bhagavatamrita. Srila Rupa Goswami gives references for this from the Padma Purana, I guess. So from Krishna, Balaram expanded. From Balaram, the Adi Chaturvyuha, Vasudeva, Sankarshana, Pradyumna, Aniruddha expanded. And then from the Sankarshana of the Adi Chaturvyuha, Narayana expands. And from Narayana, and the Dvitiya Chaturvyuha, and then further expansions happen. This Narayana is an expansion of Krishna. It is said in the Vedas, Brahmanyo Devaki Putraha, the son of Devaki, Krishna is the Supreme Personality, Narayana Upanishad. Then it is said, Eko vai Narayana asi na Brahma, na Ishanu, na Panagni, Somo, Neme, Dhyao Apritvi, na Nakshatrani, na Suryaha. In the beginning of the creation, there was only the Supreme Personality, Narayana. This is a very, from the Maha Upanishad, this is a very important reference. It says that there was no one before the creation. None of the demigods were present. Yesterday we saw that, right? Unless Krishna himself reveals who he is, how someone will know? Like, who was that? I think Baladev Devotional Prabhu is giving a reference. He's saying that a child is born, child maybe 6 months or 1 year, but just starts to speak. How the child will know who is the father and who is the mother? Unless the father or mother, they themselves, they speak, the child will not know. Similarly, all of them, none of them were present. So the Lord, when he desired creation, then everything happened. There was no Brahma, no Shiva, no water, no fire, no heaven and earth, no stars in the sky, no sun. In the Maha Upanishad, it is also said that Lord Shiva was born from the forehead of the Supreme Lord. There are references how the Shiva was born from the Lord and how Brahma was born from him. Thus, the Vedas say that it is the Supreme Lord, the creator of Brahma and Shiva, who is to be worshipped. So, somebody may claim Shiva to be supreme, but there are clear references from the Upanishads. And, well, in the Gita itself, right in this chapter, Aham Adirhi Devana, Krishna himself establishes. Again, we can see another reference. The patriarch Shiva and others are created by me, though they do not know that they are created by me, because they are deluded by the illusory energy. Tauhimam na vijanito mama maya vimohito. Very clear. See, again, another reference Prabhupada is pointing out here. Narayana is the supreme personality of God, and from him Brahma was born, and from whom Shiva was born. Narayana parodevas tasmad jatas chaturmukah tasmad rudro bhavaddeva sachaja sarva jnatam gatah. So now that's why it's so important that when we speak, we just don't, we are not speaking out of some any sentiments or because I like, you like. No, scriptures, this is what the scriptures are pointing out. This is what the Vedas are pointing out. The Vedas are pointing out who is that supreme personality of Godhead. So we accept the conclusive statements of the Vedas. Lord Krishna is the source of all generations and he is called the most efficient cause of everything. He says, because everything is born of me, I am the original source of all. Everything is under me, no one is above me. There is no supreme controller other than Krishna. One who understands Krishna in such a way from a bona fide spiritual master, with references from Vedic literature, engages all his energy in Krishna consciousness and becomes a truly learned man. So this is the point. When we give this proper oral reception, when we hear from the bona fide authorities, what is the result of that? Actually, we want to serve Krishna. We want to surrender our lives to Krishna, not to anyone else. So Prabhupada explains that Krishna himself is revealing his unique position. He is showing that you have to take shelter of me. I am the cause of all the causes. But if you do not hear properly, if you do not submit ourselves to him, we are simply fools. That's all. That's what Prabhupada is pointing out here. Only a fool would consider Krishna to be an ordinary man. A Krishna conscious person should not be bewildered by fools. He should avoid all unauthorized commentaries and interpretations on Bhagavad Gita and proceed in Krishna consciousness with determination and firmness. So if you see here, this is again another amazing thing. Here it is mentioned that Krishna is the cause of all the causes. His Holiness Sohotra Maharaj, in his explanation of Chaturshloki, he amazingly builds up, he explains how everything is caused by Krishna. In the Bhagavatam, the entire descriptions are there. The second canto and third canto, if you see, you can see how everything has come from Krishna. Right from all the 24 elements, Krishna is the cause of everything. And you can see from subtle, gross comes. So all the Panchabhutas, Karmendriyas, Jnanendriyas, then the subtle elements, mind, as Krishna says, Bhumi Rapuna Lovayu, Kamano Buddhi Revacha. How everything is happening by Krishna's, just by his desire, everything is coming out. So he is the cause of all these things. And then we will see the commentary also here. Now there are further explanations. How Krishna is the cause of, it is explained here, Krishna is the cause of the material world, Krishna is the cause of the spiritual world, and Krishna is even the cause of the process of bhakti, the process of sadhana, how to come to him. He is the cause of everything. There is nothing that Krishna is not the cause. That's what they're saying is there, right? Even a blade of grass doesn't move without the sanction of the Lord. Without the will of the Lord, nothing moves. And also, we see, there are two kinds of causes. There is a primary cause, secondary cause. The efficient cause and the material cause. Nimitta and Upadhana. The Bhagavatam explains this also. Now, actually, all Krishna is, sometimes we say Krishna is the cause, and of course, there are also secondary causes. There is Sarga and Visarga. Krishna, by his glancing, he actually begins the creation. But then Brahma does a lot of engineering after that. But here in this verse, it's explained that he is the actual cause of everything. So that has to be understood. Although somebody may be an instrument in doing other causes, but actually without Krishna's intervention, without Krishna's glance, without Krishna entering into every planet, every atom, nothing moves, nothing happens. So this we have to be very convinced with this. Okay, now let's see what Sridhar Swami says. How through the knowledge of glory and power of the Lord, complete realization is attained is being shown in the 4 verses. So by knowing about the glory of the Supreme Lord and what are his powers, just, how, this is something amazing, right? Krishna just glances, everything happens. What a personality he should be. See, let's see in real time situation. We see, we are sometimes impressed by, so we are attracted by some personalities. Okay, let's say, we are attracted by some cricketer. Maybe, he's a very expert bowler or expert batsman, or he can just hit sixes in 5 consecutive balls, and we are just captivated by him. But these are all something so insignificant in this material world. But if you see Krishna's activities and how Krishna, like we heard this Patram Pushpam Palantoyam, Prabhupada in the purport, he is explaining the point that how Krishna, just by glancing, he can eat. Isn't that something amazing? How Krishna can do this? And Krishna, by glancing, everything, all activities for the creation takes place. So here he's pointing out, so by knowing about the glory of the Lord, one is captivated, and then he feels, I have to give I should surrender myself to this personality. That's what Sridhar Swami is pointing out. Sri Ramanujacharya, he says, Krishna here in these 4 verses shows that the growth of devotion is of the form of the development of knowledge of his supreme state. So, how one can go into the depths of devotion? Only when we know about the Lord. Unless we know about him, we will not be attracted by him. So we should have the knowledge. So yesterday we were discussing. So bhakti will become free flowing. Bhakti is like liquid. It flows so freely. But then it should be in a channel. It should be in a solid channel. Then it flows nicely. Otherwise, it may be misdirected. It may go hither and thither. It may not be properly focused. So if we have clear understanding, who is the Supreme Personality of God, how he is a person, how he has desires, and we have to please him. That's why 2 things are so important. Bhakti is, these are all sentiments from the heart. But these sentiments should be supported properly. Yesterday we were discussing this point, how the importance of Shruti, Smriti, Puranadi, Pancharatrim, Vidim Vina, Aikantiki, Harer Bhaktir, Utpadayaiva Kalpate. We cannot do anything whimsically. It's all just love. It's all just feelings. And then what? We just don't need to read anything, no need to follow any rules and regulations. Then we may become a sahaja. So it is so important that we should follow the rules and regulations and not just completely stick to the rules and regulations. The rules and regulations are meant to always remember Krishna, not to forget Krishna. Are you getting this point? So it's so important. So here he is making the point that when we have the proper knowledge, when the Siddhanta is clear, Siddhanta boliye chitte na kore alosh. Iha hoite. Sorry. Iha hoite lage Krishna sudridamana. So one develops when one is very clear in the philosophy of Krishna consciousness. Then what happens? His mind becomes absorbed in Krishna. Mind becomes strong. So philosophical. That's when we get Siddhanta. We hear from Krishna himself. Krishna is explaining what is his position, what is pure devotion. The acharyas are giving exactly what we should do. So that is very much required. So then Sripad Madhvacharya says, to instill confidence in the realization of the fruit promised in the verse 7. So what is that verse 7 what we learned? Veti loka maheshwaram. Krishna said, right? Krishna explained that one who hears about my glories, about my vibhutis, then what happens? Avikalpena. Undeviated. He will be rendering service to me. He will engage in my pure devotional service. Undeviated. He will engage in Ananya Bhakti. So he says that This refers to the existence of devotees of the Lord who remain completely devoted to Him with heart and soul. So that's the point. So when we hear about Him, this is what is the result. The result is that we become firmly fixed in Krishna consciousness. Now Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, he speaks. Here he speaks of his vibhuti characterized by great power. I am the cause of the existence and manifestation of everything, both material and spiritual. Because of me alone, Mattaha, in the form of Paramatma, the whole material world operates. Sarvam pravartati. So Krishna says that. So Krishna does not directly deal with this, right? So as three Vishnu expansions. Vishnustu trini rupani purushakyani ato viduhu. Ekam tam mahadashtrashtir dvitiyam anda samstitah. So one who knows the expansions of these three Vishnus, then what happens? Then he is liberated from the conditioning of this material world. So here Krishna is explaining that so as expansion of my Paramatma, I take care of these creations. And not only that, you see here, as we discussed before, as well because of me alone in the form of avatars like Narada, Mattaha, all the spiritual sadhanas such as bhakti, jnana, tapas and karma, and the goals of these sadhanas operate. Sarvam pravartate. And even that, the knowledge of how to engage in bhakti, what are the principles of bhakti, how to perform tapasya, how to get the proper knowledge. So Krishna himself comes through, he expands himself, Krishna invests in different jivas, jnana shakti, kriya shakti, bhala shakti, bhakti shakti, palana shakti, different kinds of, Krishna has got so many different potencies. So he invests and he himself guides the conditioned souls. He then describes the yoga, which is ananya bhakti, being convinced through faith by this knowledge, iti matva, the intelligent persons endowed with bhava in the forms of dasya, sakya and other relationships worship me. So then what happens? So by getting this proper knowledge and then by surrendering, then one, in the five rasas, one engages in devotional service to the Lord. So this is what Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur points. And if you take a look at the commentary of Srila Baladev Vidyabhushan Prabhu, we will see that all the quotes that we have in the scriptures, we can see everything right there in Prabhupada's commentary. All the quotes are whatever that is given there. So now, this is the point here we discussed. You can see Baladev Vidyabhushan Prabhu is pointing out. What is said in this verse is that the Lord is the material and efficient cause. He's both the causes. He is only the cause of everything. Upadana nimitta, of everything other than himself. Whatever arises from me acts because of me. All of their operations depend on me. I am the controller of everything. Knowing me as such, as the cause and the controller of all, confirming this through the mouth of Guru. This is interesting, right? All these things we hear from the spiritual master. Being filled with prema, the intelligent person worships me. So one becomes excited, enthusiastic, delighted, having come to know this transcendental knowledge. Then immediately he submits himself to Krishna. So that's why we ask, I have read Bhagavad Gita, I know Bhagavad Gita. So what are you doing, sir? I'm working for, no, I'm very busy. I'm having this. What is this very busy? You have to surrender your life to Krishna. What are you doing? Are you chanting his names? Have you given up your sinful proclivities? So all these things are results of having heard Bhagavad Gita. Yeah, I've read the Bhagavad Gita and then watching cricket, watching films, reading useless things. What is the point? So that means that you have not heard the Bhagavad Gita at all. Because you see, this is the Buddha Bhava Samanvitaha. This is what happens if you have heard about the Supreme Personality of Godhead from his pure devotees. Okay. Here is the lecture. Srila Prabhupada is pointing out. Yes, this is actually the essence of the Bhagavad Gita. Aham sarvasya prabhavo mattas sarvam pravartate. I am the origin of everything. Aham sarvasya prabhavo and mattas sarvam. Sarvam means including Brahma, Vishnu, Maheshwara. Sarvam. Mattas sarvam pravartate. Iti matva. One who understands this, bhajante, so just. The bhajana is for whom? Iti matva. When one understands that Krishna is the origin of everything, even the original demigods, Brahma, Vishnu, Maheshwara, when one understands perfectly this thing, then his bhajana is perfect. Buddha Bhava, Dr. Patel, Buddha Bhava Samanvitaha, Prabhupada, Bhava means, Chandobai, all the emotions, feelings, Prabhupada, love, feelings of love. Oh, Krishna is so great. Okay, let's go to text 9. Now, after having explained that he is the Supreme Personality. From him everything is emanating. He is the cause of everything, and his devotees, those who know about him, who are those who knows about him? They are his devotees, and they engage in his service. Now in this verse, Krishna goes on to explain about what his devotees do. What do they do? What are the symptoms? We already saw the symptoms of pure devotee in 2 verses, right? In the 9th chapter, Mahatmanas Tamam Partha and Saptam Kirtayanto Mam. Now there are some more aspects which are discussed here. Text 9. Machchitta madghata prana bodhayantah parasparam katayantascha mam nityam tushyanti cha ramanti cha. The thoughts of my pure devotees dwell in me. Their lives are fully devoted to my service, and they derive great satisfaction and bliss from always enlightening one another and conversing about me. So much chitta, chitta refers to my mind, heart. Prabhupada translates it as fully engaged in me. Much chitta, madgata prana, their lives devoted to me. Bodhayantaha, parasparam. So, they are always engaged in parasparam, means among themselves. There is a conversation that is happening. They are discussing about the glory of the Lord. Katayantascha, always they are talking. About whom? Always nityam word is used. 24 hours, nothing else other than discussing about Krishna. And by that discussion, what is the result of that? Tushyanticha ramanticha. Their hearts have become pleased and they enjoy transcendental bliss. Pratipadam purnamrita svadanam. At every step they are relishing bliss. Okay. This reminds me of one Bhagavatam verse. Just let's see. Yeah, this is in the 11th canto of the Bhagavatam. Quite a similar verse is mentioned. It speaks, are able to, those who are online able to see this, the screen? Should be able to see the screen, right? Parasparanu katanam pavanam bhagavadyashaha mitoratir mitastushtir nivritir mita atmanaha. One should learn how to associate with the devotees of the Lord by gathering them with them to chant the glories of the Lord. This process is most purifying, as devotees thus develop their loving friendship. They feel mutual happiness. You see, when we are together with the devotees, and what do? We discuss Harikatha. Immediately there is satisfaction. Mitaha means mutual. Tushtihi. Mita tushtir nivritihi. Then what happens? And thus encouraging one another, they are able to give up material sense gratification, which is the cause of all suffering. See, very amazing verse. It is very much in relation. Mitoratir mitastushtir nivritir mita atmana. So that is the way to come out of the material suffering. So devotees, that's what devotees are engaged in, is transcendental glorification of the Lord. They are very happy. Okay. Now Prabhupada, in this purport, he goes on to explain the pure symptoms, how the devotees are completely engaged in the transcendental subject matter. The symptoms of the pure devotees are described in this verse specifically. Devotees of the Supreme Lord are 24 hours daily engaged in glorifying the qualities and pastimes of the Lord. Their hearts and souls are constantly submerged in Krishna, and they take pleasure in discussing him with other devotees. See, this is the point, the more we hear about Krishna, the more we discuss about Krishna, then what is the result of it? The result is that all the shoka moha bhayapaha. So, Krishna Paramapurushe shoka moha bhayapaha. Bhaktir utpatyate kalpa. This is what the Bhagavatam explains. Everything is just vanquished. Everything is just destroyed. Okay. Now, Srila Prabhupada continues to explain about the 2 stages of devotional service in the purport, if you have read it. In the preliminary stage of devotional service, they relish the transcendental pleasure from the service itself. And in the mature stage, they are actually situated in love of God. So, there are 3 stages of devotion. One is the sadhana bhakti, another one is the bhava bhakti, and then prema bhakti. So, sadhana bhakti could be, there are 2 kinds of sadhana bhakti. One is Vaidhi sadhana bhakti and Raganuga sadhana bhakti. So, in all these stages, what is happening? Not that when one attains perfection, at that time only he is in bliss. No. Even in the beginning stage, even one may be a neophyte, but when one gives his heart, he absorbs in Krishna's service, immediately there is satisfaction, there is bliss. So what is the proof for that? We ourselves we can ourselves expect pratyaksha vagamam dharmyam. We can see with ourselves. When we engage in service, in Krishna's service, we forget everything, right? We forget, at least as Prachetas, in one of the verses they say, I forgot the verse, a beautiful verse, they explain that this is the beauty of devotional service, that at least during that moment you completely forget about everything. You forget about the body, you forget about the mind, you forget about the sufferings when you are absorbed in Krishna's service. This is the beauty of devotional service. So, so that is what Srila Prabhupada is pointing out, that even in the beginning stage and in the mature stage, they are actually situated in the love of God. Once situated in that transcendental position, they can relish the highest perfection which is exhibited by the Lord in His abode. So that is the criteria. So when one engages in this devotional, they are completely satisfied. Now, Srila Prabhupada takes the purport, how one gets this love of God. What is actually happening? What is the science that is happening behind? In this very nicely Prabhupada is pointing out. So let's take a look at that. Lord Chaitanya likens transcendental devotional service to the sowing of a seed in the heart of the living entity. There are innumerable living entities traveling throughout the different planets in the universe, and out of them, there are a few who are fortunate enough to meet a pure devotee and get the chance to understand devotional service. What is it referring to? Anybody reminds anything? Are you able to remember anything in relation to this, what Srila Prabhupada is speaking? Thank you. Brahmanda Brahmite Kon Bhagyavan Jiva Guru Krishna Prasade Pai Bhakti Lada Beach. So if you see in the Bhagavad, in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, Madhya Leela, there is a discussion that is taking place. Krishna's Kaviraj Goswami explains this. So what I will do is, I will just go to Chaitanya Charitamrita, we will see those series of verses, and then we can see here how Prabhupada is just exactly giving those reference. Brahmanda Brahmite Kon Bhagyavan Jiva Guru Krishna Prasade Pai Bhakti Lata Bij. According to their karma, all living entities are wandering throughout the entire universe. Some of them are being elevated to the upper planetary systems, and some are going down into the lower planetary systems. Out of many millions of wandering living entities, one who is very fortunate gets an opportunity to associate with a bona fide spiritual master. So it's a very rare opportunity. By the grace of Krishna, by the mercy of both Krishna and the spiritual master, such a person receives the seed of the creeper of devotional service. So in the last verse when we read, Baladev Vidyabhushan Prabhu says that, so all these things one should hear from the mouth of a pure devotee. We read that, right? So that without the Yasya Prasadat Bhagavat Prasado, Yasya Prasadat Nagati Kutopi. Without the mercy of the spiritual master, one cannot get the mercy of Krishna. So this is Krishna's system. This is how Krishna has arranged it. He reveals himself through his pure devotee. Now, what the spiritual master does, how does he transmits this knowledge? Now Krishna further explains. Mali hai kare se bija arapana, Shravana Kirtana Jale Karaya Shechana. When a person receives the seed of devotional service, he should take care of it by becoming a gardener and sowing the seed in his heart. If he waters the seed gradually by the process of Shravana and Kirtana, the seed will begin to sprout. So this is the secret. So the seed is given to us, and the seed we have to protect it as a gardener. And then we should water it. What is the watering process? Shravanam and Kirtanam. Regularly we have to do this. If we just miss not to water the plant after 5 days, if you can know, you can see everything becomes dry, everything is gone. How many times we have experienced in the ashram? And then if you just don't take care of it, if you don't put a fence, if you don't regularly see that there is no, the cows don't come or the goat doesn't come, if you don't take care of it, then you see the plant is missing. So that's what happens exactly in our lives also. If we just don't take care of, then by the influence of bad association, by the influence of misunderstandings, offenses, our spiritual life is ruined. Upajiya Badelata Brahmanda Bedi Jai Viraja Brahma Loka Bedi Paravyoma Pai. As one waters the Bhakti Lata beach, the seed sprouts and the creeper gradually grows to the point where it penetrates the walls of this universe and goes beyond the Viraja river, lying between the spiritual world and the material world. It attains Brahmaloka, the Brahman effulgence, and penetrating through that stratum, it reaches the spiritual sky and the spiritual planet Goloka Vrindavana. Tabe jai tadupari Goloka Vrindavana, Krishna Charana Kalpa Vrikshe Kare Harohana. Being situated in one's heart and being watered by Shravana Kirtana, the Bhakti creeper grows more and more. In this way, it attains the shelter of the desired tree of the lotus feet of Krishna, who is eternally situated in the planet known as Goloka Vrindavana, in the topmost region of the spiritual sky. Tahan Vistaritahana Pale Prema Pala Ihan Mali Sheche Nitya Shravana Dijala. The creeper greatly expands on the Goloka Vrindavana planet, and there it produces the fruit of love for Krishna. All the remaining in the material world, the gardener regularly sprinkles the creeper with the water of hearing and chanting. So this is what we need to do. Regularly, we water, Shravanam and Kirtanam is required, then the seed of bhakti will start to sprout and then it penetrates. So exactly, Srila Prabhupada is speaking the same thing in his purport. This devotional service is just like a seed, and if it is sown in the heart of a living entity, and if he goes on hearing and chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, that seed fructifies, just as the seed of a tree fructifies with regular watering. The spiritual plant of devotional service gradually grows and grows until it penetrates the covering of the material universe and enters into the Brahmajyoti effulgence in the spiritual sky. In the spiritual sky also, that plant grows more and more until it reaches the highest planet, which is called Goloka Vrindavana, the supreme planet of Krishna. Ultimately, the plant takes shelter under the lotus feet of Krishna and rests there. Gradually, as the plant grows and grows fruits and flowers, that plant of devotional service also produces fruits, and the watering process in the form of chanting and hearing goes on. This plant of devotional service is fully described in the Chaitanya Charitamrita Madhya Lila. Extensive purports are there from Srila Prabhupada, so you can take your time and read that. It is explained there that when the complete plant takes shelter under the lotus feet of the Supreme Lord, one becomes fully absorbed in love of God. Then he cannot live even for a moment without being in contact with the Supreme Lord, just as a fish cannot live without water. Such a nice analogy. This is from Phalada Vidya Bhushan Prabhu's commentary. That how when one has become completely Krishna conscious, when one has absorbed himself carefully, protecting the seed of bhakti, and when it is nurtured properly, then what happens? He is in great bliss. He cannot, for a moment, he cannot forget Krishna. He is absorbed in thoughts of Krishna. So this is the point here, that then what happens? Then he starts to relish hearing about Krishna's Nama, Rupa, Guna, Leela. So there are two stages. One is the beginning stage, what we are supposed to do, although we may not be so much in the beginning stage, so inspired to hear or serve, but we should understand, we should theoretically accept the statements of the scriptures, we should hear the words of the bona fide spiritual master, and what we should do, we should apply ourselves for the process of hearing and chanting. Then as we apply ourselves, then gradually what happens, as we are purified, then what happens, we in the Madhurya Karamani, Srila Vishnu Chakravarti Thakur is pointing out, when we become free from anarthas, in the stage of anartha nivritti, when we cross the anartha nivritti stage, then we go to the stage of nishta, we have firm faith, then we develop ruchi. So in this stage of ruchi, what happens is we become so fixed in service of the Lord. Every time anything to do with Krishna, any service, we are just taking as amritam, it's like nectar. Anything, face doesn't become, it doesn't shrink. It just becomes blissful, like how Radha Damodar Prabhu is now, in great bliss. Like that, completely happy. Anything, yes Prabhuji, we will do it for Krishna. Yes, 24 hours. So we are in a conditioned state, we just start calculating, but when we ask, that's what exactly Srila Prabhupada is pointing out here. The devotee relishes anything. He comes and hears Bhagavatam, he's so enthusiastic in chanting, he's enthusiastic in kirtan, he's enthusiastic in cooking for the Lord, anything for Krishna is ready to do. So this is the advanced stage. And it is very much, we can see that. And then when he goes further, he absorbs himself further, then what happens? He completely absorbs in the holy name. He completely absorbs in the pastimes of the Lord. This is what is being pointed out here. So Srila Prabhupada explains here. The Srimad Bhagavatam is also full of such narrations about the relationship between the Supreme Lord and his devotees. Therefore, the Srimad Bhagavatam is very dear to the devotees, as stated in the Bhagavatam itself. Srimad Bhagavatam Puranam Amalam Yad Vaishnavanam Priyam. And Srimad Bhagavatam is also, there is no Purusharthas are not discussed there. That's why it's called Panchama Purushartha. What is the Prema Pumarto Maha? Now that's the point. This speaks about love of God. There is no other discussion in the Bhagavatam. Srimad Bhagavatam is the only narration in which the transcendental nature of the Supreme Lord and his devotees is fully described. Thus, the realized souls in Krishna consciousness take continual pleasure in hearing such transcendental literatures, just as a young boy and girl take pleasure in association. So we can see here, Prabhupada is pointing out, this is an example which we can relate to in the material world. Immediately we can see how a young boy and a young girl comes, they are absorbed in their thoughts, And we can also see, and this is also we can see when, one may be very tired, one may have done very hard, so much hard work, but he will, rush to see the boy may rush to see the girl, or the girl may rush to see the boy, because of the attraction that they have for each other. So similarly, when you develop the attraction to hear the holy name, to hear the Harikatha, to be engaged in the service, we will also be in great bliss. So that is what is the point made here. Okay, now, let's also, we can see in our day-to-day life also, when devotees get absorbed so much, they forget about tiredness, or they forget about what they have to do. They are so much, they give their life and soul in the service of the Supreme Lord. Sometimes we see devotees go out. It's not necessary that, one day a devotee in a Paramahamsa stage will have this experience. Even any devotee who sincerely engages in the service of the Lord will experience this nectar. We can see when sometimes devotees go out, distribute books, they completely forget day and night. They just out there preaching, distributing. They are so enthusiastic. Specifically during marathon times, we can see devotees cut their eating, cut their sleeping. They stretch themselves simply to please Krishna, simply to please the pure devotee of the Lord. You can see during Janmashtami time, whole day devotees, they don't even drink water. They just push themselves, engage in so much service. And then after that, everything, midnight, the arati is there and all the function is over, Abhishekam is over. And then next day also with super enthusiasm, devotees come and then they come for the Mangalarati. They participate. There with some of you are laughing, Some of you collapsed, but some of the devotees still they come, and then with the great enthusiasm they jump, they sing. Why? What is it that is pushing year after year? Day after day, devotees are doing this. Why? Because Krishna is all attractive. He attracts his devotees. So that is what. So he's a devotee. He submits himself to the Lord. So this is the glory of devotional service. So let's see what Srila Sridhar Swami is explaining. So he says, prana also means senses are directed to me. So all the senses are also completely. Krishna is called as, what is his name? Rishika, Isha, Rishikesha. So all the senses, he is in control of us. So when we submit ourselves to Krishna, so then Krishna takes charge of our senses and mind. But we have to submit ourselves to him. Is the point. So then Sripad Ramanujacharya says, prana means that they are unable to sustain themselves without me. You see, because Krishna becomes their life and soul. Krishna becomes their life, he becomes their life and soul, and they are not able to lead their lives without thinking anything else. They are only able to think of Krishna. Now, this is a very interesting commentary here by Sripad Ramanujacharya. Please listen to this. He says, the speakers are delighted by their own speech because it is spontaneous. Without any ulterior motive, listeners too feel the speech to be incomparably dear to them. Thus they live in bliss. So this is the beauty of Krishna consciousness. The speaker himself is completely absorbed because it's spontaneous. So we can immediately think of how Srila Prabhupada, when he used to speak, sometimes he used to, when he gives classes, he is completely in bliss. He's absorbed. Sometimes Prabhupada himself used to hear what he spoke. He used to hear his own lecture, and Prabhupada wrote the Krishna book. Remember Shrutakirti Prabhu and the other devotees in Vrindavan temple. They used to read from Krishna book, and Srila Prabhupada with such a enthusiasm. He will hear that like he's hearing for the first time. Enter, Krishna now, the Aghasura Leela, they were reading from the Aghasura Leela, and all the Gopas and the Lord himself, they entered the snake, and then Prabhupada was with open eyes. And what happened? Because this is the power of pure devotion. And Prabhupada said that Krishna actually dictated. I wrote. Otherwise, who will read his own subject matter? Because it's a transcendental subject matter. It's in every step there is bliss. So this is very interesting what here Sripad Ramanujacharya says. So totally they are absorbed, and they are in great bliss. This is what happens. Now Srila Vishnu Chakravarti Thakur, he points out, such Ananya Bhaktas who have attained spiritual intelligence by my mercy attain factual knowledge of me, mentioned previously, which is hard to understand. He says, their minds are greedy for my form, name, qualities, pastimes, and the taste of sweetness, machitaha. So what is it that they are absorbed in? The Nama, Rupa, Guna, Leela. It's very sweet for them. They are absorbed in that. They are unable to maintain their lives without me. Madgata pranaha. This is very interesting. For us, in our conditioned state, we are, what he very nicely points out. He says, annagata pranaha. Annamaya kosh, we are in that, we are somehow not crossing that. So he says that for those devotees who are so much engaged in the service of the Lord, see what he says? Just as men are completely dedicated to food, annagata prana nara, since they depend on it to live. But for the devotees, what is their sustaining force? Krishna is their sustaining force. Krishna Katha is their sustaining force. So this is the point, if we give oral reception, and we pay attention, because Krishna is present in the Bhagavatam, he is present in the Gita. That's why we should strive ourselves to come and then hear, and come and associate with devotees. So in this stage, then we will see that how nourishing and how much we can relish this Krishna consciousness. Specifically when we hear from advanced devotees, they explain to each other with friendliness about the types of bhakti and the real nature of bhakti. What do they discuss? They don't discuss any Gramya Katha. They don't discuss what is the which job you are, what is your salary, what is the politics. No kind of machita madgata prana bodhayantah parasparam. This is what they are totally absorbed in. See what two things that is here Srila Vishnu Chakravarti Thakur is pointing out. What are the different types of bhakti and the nature of bhakti? How glorious is the Lord's service? We can see the Chaitanya Charitamrita, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Ramananda Rai, they are discussing, they are so absorbed. Day and night they are discussing. We can see in the Bhagavatam, so many discussions are explained. The discussion between Vidura and Uddhava. Those discussions were so amazing also. Vidura, Uddhava will not be able to speak. He will be completely stunned. There will be complete pause. He will not be able to speak for some time. He is so absorbed. Before he speaks, he thinks about the Lord. And Vidura also is in great ecstasy hearing. So like that, there are so many amazing pastimes. When they hear about the Lord, they are in rapt attention. They forget about themselves. That is being glorified here. And so that's the point. And then also, hearing all these things, it kindles our devotional propensities, because there is nothing artificial that is happening, because naturally we have this love for Krishna. And when we hear from bona fide source, when we hear from pure devotees, and when we submit ourselves, then the bhakti which is hidden in the heart, it sprouts actually. So that's the point. So more we read, more we hear, more we give ourselves, then we develop the taste for it. So here he goes on to explain, since smarana machchitta, he's giving another explanation. Since smarana machchitta, shravana bodhayantaha. So he's calling machchitta as smarana, thinking of the Lord, and then bodhayantaha, hearing, shravana, and kirtana, kathayantaha, discussing, are the best among all types of bhakti. Of the Navavida bhaktis, Navavida bhakti, the kirtanam is supported by shravanam. Unless there is proper, shravanam is the heart of the kirtanam. And the result of shravanam and kirtanam is what? Smarana. Yes, you remember about Krishna. So these are the three chief angas of the bhakti. Thus, by this bhakti alone, These devotees are satisfied and experience happiness. This is the mysterious aspect of bhakti. So that's why, devotees, the materialistic people, he says that they cannot understand this. What is this, you people are all the time chanting Hare Krishna, nothing else. I remember, we went to one of our friends, actually he took my brother to our ISKCON center in Chennai. He brought, and then devotees, the whole Kirtan is all about the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. Just going on and on with Hare Krishna Mahamantra. So then my brother started going to the temple. From every Sunday, we have a Sunday program, right? But the other friend who brought him to the temple, he was not coming. And later, after some time, I met him and then asked him, hey, why, you only actually showed him this, that we never knew anything about ISKCON or anything. I said, no, actually, I like to hear different budgets, different programs. Same, there's one thing, yeah, they have good instruments. They are more musical. That fellow was more musical. He's interested in Carnatic music and all those things. But what is the purpose of this music? He lost himself. So he said that, see, some change should be there. All the time the same Hare Krishna Mahamantra. Let's have some change. So he used to go to different places. So he's now still roaming around. I guess some appreciation for ISKCON. But the point is that devotees are so absorbed. Same Mahamantra. It's not boring. It's in fact every time you sing, every time you hear, it is Anandham Gudivardhanam Pratipadam Purnamrita Swadanam. It is actually giving satisfaction and enjoyment. That's the point. Okay, here. Or the meaning of satisfaction and enjoyment can be as follows. They are satisfied even at the stage of sadhana. This we discussed. Of sadhana by continual performance of their worship brought about by good fortune. And they take pleasure in thinking of their future attainment of prema and enjoy with their Lord through the mind. This interpretation indicates Raganuga Bhakti. So in both the stages, in the stage of sadhana and in the stage of advanced stage as well, in both the stages they are completely satisfied and they are relishing this Krishna consciousness. Okay, now Baladev Vidyabhushan Prabhu, he is pointing out, this verse describes the process of bhakti. They are absorbed in remembering me, Matchitta. They cannot attain their lives without me, like fish cannot live without water. Such a nice analogy, right? If you just take the fish out of the water, it will struggle, it will die. They reveal to each other my form, qualities and beauty. They speak about me, an ocean, affection for the devotee, about my extremely variegated pastimes. In this way, by worship in the form of remembering, hearing and chanting, they are satisfied, tushyanti, as if drinking nectar. They enjoy this just as a young boy enjoys the smiling glances of a young girl. Prabhupada is very polite. Here, Baladev Vidyabhushan is more narrative, more descriptive. So here, so this is the point. So this is their absorption in Krishna consciousness. Another amazing pastime comes to my mind. If you see in the Sri Sampradaya tradition, there are the great 12 arvas. So of that, there are 3 arvas. How intense it is, this Krishna consciousness, this hearing about Krishna, speaking about Krishna, one forgets about himself, completely forgets about himself, total absorption. So when these 3 arvas are there, so there was one time there was a heavy rain, storm. There is a place near, suppose 2 hours from here, 2 hours. I forgot the name of the place. Tirukoilur. There's a place called Tirukoilur nearby. So there's one of the arvas were very near to that place. So he was there. He came there, and then it was so that because of a heavy storm and rain, so he couldn't move anywhere. So he was taking shelter there. And then there was another arva who also was on the way. He was very near to that place, and then he also could not manage the heavy rain. So he was there to take shelter. So he also entered that place. So when he entered that place, what happened? So what this arva was, what the devotees do. The devotees they are not meditating on the void. They are chanting the names of Krishna. They are glorifying Krishna. So when this another arva came, so both of them started discussing about the glories of Krishna. So they started discussing, they're conversing. They're completely absorbed in the thoughts of Krishna. Then again another arva who was also passing by that place, he also wanted to take shelter of that place. So he said that it's a very small place. So he said that one person can sleep. The first arva said one person can sleep, one person can lie down, 2 can sit, and then 3 can stand. He said, this much place is only there. So no, he also squeezed in, and they were continuously discussing Krishna Katha. They were absorbed, they were discussing about, exactly like what the acharyas are pointing out here. They were discussing about the different types of bhakti, the glories of Krishna, everything was discussion. Then within a short span of time, that place became even more congested. They were experiencing that it is becoming even more tight. Then the Supreme Lord, he himself came and then joined them, because he couldn't control himself. The devotees were so much absorbed. The Lord was so much in bliss. So he came and then joined us. This is the power of Harikatha. This is the power of discussion of Krishna Katha among the pure devotees. That's why where we can find the Lord. The Lord is not in the heart of the yogis. The Lord is not where there is in the heart of the scholars. Or the Lord is there. Yatra gayanti mad bhakta tatra tishtami narada. Wherever my devotees are singing the glories, the Lord is present there. So this is the beauty of pure devotional service. Okay, now let us continue. So now Sri Vishnu Chakravarti Thakur is pointing out, he is asking the question. It is understood that the joy of a devotee described in the previous verse is spiritual bliss beyond the modes. But by which method do the devotees gain direct contact with you? Who gives them the method of realizing you? Anticipating such a question, the Lord speaks this verse. Now he is asking how they are getting this bliss, how they are so much absorbed in yourself. So he wants to know that. And Baladevi Devotion Prabhu, he is saying that, but how is it possible for them to grasp you, who are infinite in form, qualities and powers, just through the teachings of a Guru? Okay, Guru teaches, but you are so much descriptions we heard about you. You are unlimited. How they are able to grasp you? How is it possible? So now, keeping this in mind, Krishna explains that. Okay, text 10. Tesham satata yuktanang bhajatang priti purvakam dadami buddhi yogam tang yenamam upayanti te. To those who are constantly devoted to serving me with love, I give the understanding by which they can come to me. So now this is the Krishna, he personally, he gives the intelligence to the devotee who wants to engage in the service of the Lord, who wants to come to him. Okay. Now Srila Prabhupada in the purport, let's look at the verse then again. So Tesham is what? Unto those personalities, unto them, Satata Yuktanam, always connected. Always, how they are connected, always they are engaged in the service, so they are always in connection with the Lord. So what is that? What kind of service they are rendering? Bhajatam, that he has given me, I have to do this. No, with Priti Purvakam, this is a key word in this verse. For such a devotees, Krishna is giving all the understanding. Priti Purvakam. Priti means, with great love, with great happiness, they are engaging in service. Dadami buddhi yogam tam. So to them, what he is doing, he is giving the intelligence. For what? Yenamam upayantite. Upayantite. So they can come to me. Okay. Now, in the purport, Srila Prabhupada is pointing out that what is this Buddhi Yoga, which he has already discussed in the second chapter. Buddhi Yoga itself is action in Krishna consciousness. That is the highest intelligence. So what is Buddhi Yoga? Action in Krishna consciousness. Whatever activities you perform using all your senses to please Krishna, that is Buddhi Yoga. Buddhi means intelligence and Yoga means mystic activities or mystic elevation. When one tries to go back home, back to Godhead and takes fully to Krishna consciousness in devotional service, his action is called Buddhi Yoga. So now you can understand this Buddhi Yoga is Bhakti Yoga, is devotional service. That's why right in the second chapter we were discussing that there is no difference when we say Buddhi Yoga means Bhakti Yoga, because that is the goal of using your intelligence to render service to the Lord with your senses and mind. That is the devotional service. That's what here Prabhupada is calling it as Krishna consciousness in devotional service. His action is called Buddhi Yoga. Here is again some stunning statements that Srila Prabhupada is making. Buddhi Yoga is the process by which one gets out of the entanglement of the material world. So when we have proper knowledge, when we know Krishna is Supreme Personality of Godhead, when we know the temporary nature of this material world, and when we know that by engaging in devotional service, we can come out of the conditioning, we can come out of the suffering, then we engage in devotional service of the Lord, because we know this is the way to come out of this conditioning. See, so many people in this material world, they have no clue what to do. There is one sect of Christians, they do not know what is the process. They know that sense gratification binds them. We are not happy. This much they figured out. By satisfying the senses, we are not happy. But they do not have any positive engagement in Krishna's service. They do not know what to do. So what they are doing is, to divert the mind, they are making baskets. With the bamboo sticks, they make baskets. So much of baskets they make, and after that, what they do, when they made sufficient amount of baskets, and after that they burn all the baskets. And then what they do, again they make baskets. This is one engagement they are giving to the mind, so that the mind is not engaged in other activities. Just giving an example, there are so many people who are doing so many different kinds of activities like this, they do not know what to do. But in our Krishna consciousness process, everything is so nicely defined. Very clearly we know how to engage our senses and mind. What a powerful process we have. We can chant Krishna's name, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. We can dance for Krishna. And then when we become tired, we can honor prasadam. And then after honoring prasadam, we can engage in so many different kinds of services. We can cook for Krishna, we can make garlands for Krishna, we can drive the grain for Krishna, we can go out and collect for Krishna. We can have a big list of services for Krishna. And everything we do it for the pleasure of the Lord. So there is nothing mundane there. It is completely on the transcendental platform. And when we do all these services, what is our consciousness? We are doing it for the pleasure of Krishna. So this is what Krishna says, right? What Krishna says, he says that Mayarpita mamo buddhir mame vaishya sasamshayah. How does the verse begin? Tasmat sarveshu kaleshu mamanusmar yudhyachin. All the time. All the time you engage in my service. But one key point is, that's the catch. The catch is that keep me in the center. You remember me. We may do external activities, but remember Krishna, that requires practice. That's why we come in association with devotees. Sometimes devotees ask, we say advanced devotees ask us, so did you think of Krishna today? Krishna. How to think of Krishna? Krishna is the goal. Actually, when we chant Hare Krishna, we think of Krishna. So we remind ourselves. That's why morning and evening when we regularly hear, our goal is fixed. We know that we are doing it for Krishna. So that's why you see, in our house we would have never done. We would have never took the broomstick. We would have never cleaned the pots. We would have never did any menial things. Everything our mother or father may do it. But when we come and devotees come and join temple, they do so many things, and they understand this is for Krishna. So for Krishna I will do it. Yes, that's the key factor. For Krishna we have to do. We have to please Krishna. So that's the point. So you see here, Prabhupada in the purport, he makes the ultimate goal of progress is Krishna. See here, you may do so many things, but if your mind is fixed, you understand that Krishna, he is the person we have to please. He is the ultimate goal. All the different processes, karma yoga, jnana yoga, hatha yoga, this yoga, that yoga, all yoga ultimately should culminate in Krishna consciousness. People do not know this, therefore the association of devotees and a bona fide spiritual master are important. So see how much important it is to hear from a bona fide source, because we will lose this point that the ultimate goal of progress is Krishna. So to come to this knowledge, to get this intelligence that we have to serve Krishna, that Krishna is the object of worship, we need the association of pure devotees. We need to hear from the bona fide source. We need to study Bhagavad Gita. We need to study Bhagavatam. So then it is possible. One should know that the goal is Krishna, and when the goal is assigned, then the path is slowly but progressively traversed and the ultimate goal is achieved. So first of all, one should be clear with the goal. Now, based on this understanding that the goal is Krishna, Prabhupada defines the different yoga systems, which we read before when we were studying the Karma Yoga and Jnana Yoga. See here, very nicely Prabhupada defines. When a person knows the goal of life but is addicted to the fruits of activities, he is acting in Karma Yoga. So, he may be attached to performing various activities. He may know Krishna is the goal, but he is either attached to the work or he is attached to the results. He is not completely offering it to Krishna. But the same Karma Yoga becomes Bhakti Yoga when you do the entire activity for Krishna and when you offer the results to Krishna, then it is devotion. That's why in the devotional service, not that we just simply sit and meditate, do nothing. We may do so many, that's why some people cannot understand. What is this? You are jumping, singing, dancing. We will see in the next verse, The Mayavadi sannyasis are criticizing Lord Chaitanya. You people are sentimentalists. You're supposed to study Vedanta Sutra. Simply, but Krishna consciousness, there is activities. We can perform all the activities for the pleasure of the Lord. And we are not attached to the results. We just simply give everything to Krishna. So, okay, now Prabhupada goes on to explain. When he knows that the goal is Krishna, but he takes pleasure in mental speculations to understand Krishna, he is acting in Jnana Yoga. So, one may know that Krishna is the goal, but one is so much trying to analyze the scriptures, is trying to go through various sections, the Neti process. He is trying to, by the ascending process, tries to find the truth. All these things, then that is, he calls, Srila Prabhupada here defines it as Jnana Yoga. And when he knows the goal and seeks Krishna completely in Krishna consciousness and devotional service, he is acting in Bhakti Yoga or Buddhi Yoga, which is the complete yoga. You see, in the other system, what happens is that he may even know, but he may not actually engage in any service. So by the process of Jnana, he may even come to know about the supreme truth, but he may not engage actually in the service of the Lord. So for that, you need the intervention of a pure devotee. So from there only, even the beginning of the Shantarasa, that also when one gets and starts to appreciate appreciate about the Lord, so that is also there. But in devotion, one understands about pure devotional service, then what happens? He knows the goal is Krishna, and he seeks complete shelter in Krishna consciousness, and he acts for the pleasure of the Lord. So this complete yoga of pure devotional service, simply to please Krishna, is Prabhupada points out, the complete yoga is the highest perfectional stage of life. That is the perfection one attains. So now Prabhupada explains that how one gets to this stage. A person may have a bona fide spiritual master and may be attached to a spiritual organization. See how nicely Prabhupada is pointing out here how important is this pure devotional service. See what happens. But if he still is not intelligent enough to make progress, then Krishna from within gives him instruction so that he may ultimately come to him without difficulty. So we may not be able to understand some things. We may not be able to we may not be literate also. We may not be able to read. But if someone engages in the devotional service, then what is the result of it? The result is that one is purified, and the Lord reveals himself to such devotee. That's a very key factor. That's what happens. So here Prabhupada is pointing out, so what is the qualification to render devotional service? So you should have completed your graduation, you should have completed your post-graduation, or you should have done engineering from here, or you should have, what is that is required? What skill sets you require? The qualification is that a person always engage himself in Krishna consciousness and with love and devotion to render all kinds of services. So this is the key factor. He engages with love and devotion. He should perform some sort of work for Krishna, and that work should be with love, not motivated. If a devotee is not intelligent enough to make progress on the path of self-realization, but is sincere and devoted to the activities of devotional service, the Lord gives him a chance to make progress and ultimately attain to him. You see, this is the point, right? So if we are sincere enough, and if we engage in the service, Krishna gives the knowledge that is required to come to him. He gives our intelligence, how to do it. That's why sometimes the question is also raised, so now the spiritual master is there, and spiritual master is not there anymore. That means at least physically he has left this world. So what do we do? So what do we do? To the degree we are sincere and serious in practicing Krishna consciousness, to the degree the knowledge will be revealed to us, the guidance will be given to us. And also there are other senior devotees, that's also there. But also not every small thing the spiritual master will be next to you. So that is why we have to be sincere in our practice of Krishna consciousness, and we will be able to take decisions in certain places, whether to do it or not to do it, based on the realization also that we get when we engage sincerely in service. When there are temptations, we will be able to give up those temptations when we are very serious and sincere in our practice. The Lord will also support us. So this is the point. So here, that is being explained here. So the qualification that is required is simply we have to be very sincere and serious. We can see in many letters, Srila Prabhupada, as you can do a search if you want in the database. Put sincere and serious. How many letters Srila Prabhupada has given to his disciples? That these are the two key factors that is required. and apply ourselves in our lives, apply ourselves in the process of Krishna consciousness. So we have to sincerely try, not just try for some time. That's why, this is again, we can relate to Srila Rupa Goswami's instruction, Utsahan, Nishchayat, Dhairyat. Our Guru has given us this instruction, so we should be enthusiastic, we should be confident, and we should be determined to take up this process. Then Krishna, seeing our sincerity, he wants to help us. Now, Srila Sridhara Swami says, to such a person as these, I grant complete realization. Tam, the means by which my devotee attains me. So he gives full realization. So that's why sometimes we see, Prabhuji, I do not know how to read, I do not know. Doesn't matter, you know how to read or not, you're educated or literate, or my intelligence levels are very small. It doesn't matter. But if you sincerely apply the instructions given to us, and then Krishna from within will inspire us. Whatever is required for us to advance in Krishna consciousness, Krishna will reveal. We should have that faith. We should render service. In one of the in the Gaudiya Math, Srila Bhakti-śāstra Saraswati Thakur, there was one disciple who was I forgot, maybe his name was Ramdas. He was his seva was to water the plants, take care of the vegetables, garden, something like gardenery. That was his service. Every day he used to sit and hear Bhagavatam and like that, but he will enter service also. So when one kind of very scholarly person, he came to ask some questions to Bhakti-śāstra Saraswati Thakur, he sent him to meet this devotee and ask some questions, whatever that he had. So then this devotee asked him, so really he sent you to me? What, I do not know anything. No, he sent me to you. So he was discussing with him, and then also he was engaged in menial services, and then he was, whatever he heard, he spoke, and then this devotee was stunned to hear from this devotee who was doing service in the garden and like that. Knowledge is revealed, Krishna consciousness, that realization is so powerful that one is fully convinced of the process of Krishna consciousness. So remember the other day also we heard about that simple, poor, economically bereft, pure, simple devotee who was hearing the lectures of Parashara Bhatta. How he was strongly convinced of the conclusions of pure devotion. Whereas on the other hand, the scholar, he had so much knowledge, he knew about everything, but he had no faith that Krishna is a person, Narayana is the Supreme Person of Godhead, like that. Okay, let's continue. Srila Sridhara Swami, unto such a person as these, we read this, Srila Ramanujacharya, to those I grant with love that same Buddhi Yoga or devotional attitude of a mature state, realization, by which they come to me. So I give them the maturity, I give them the realization by which they come to me, he says. Now, Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur is pointing out, it is understood that the joy of the devotee described in the previous verse is spiritual bliss beyond the modes. But this we read, I give Buddhi Yoga, Bhakti, to those who are constantly desirous of association. Association with me, Satata Yuktanam. So that's the thing, the more that time and energy we give for Krishna, Krishna also reciprocates. You want to spend little time, Krishna also will be away from us. You want to spend more time, invest more energy, then Krishna also is saying, hey, this person, this soul is so seriously sincere. So let's help him out. Krishna, that is what is attractive. See, we already discussed this point. What Krishna has got everything. Krishna is Atma Rama, Apta Kama. What is it that is going to attract him? Our beauty is going to attract him. Our riches is going to attract him. Our wealth, our education is going to attract him. Nothing is going to attract him. But when we are serious and sincere, and simply we want to please Krishna, Krishna is immediately pleased and he wants to come forward to help us. This is the power of bhakti. Say a small child is there. What the child does, father is only providing everything. In fact, father got him all the nice sweets. But still what the child is doing, Appa, you take one. Father is very pleased. He didn't make anything, but this attitude of giving it to the father. Similarly, when Krishna sees that attitude that I want to bow down, I want to submit myself to you, so I will submit myself to you, I want to serve you, Krishna is extremely pleased. So then what he does, he gives the intelligence to come to him. This means that the Lord alone causes Buddhi Yoga, Bhakti Yoga. I alone appear within the functions of their mind. You see, here he says that I alone appear within the functions of their minds. This Buddhi Yoga cannot be obtained to all from any other source, and it does not appear on its own. So let's little bit think about this point. So he says that Krishna personally appears in the heart of the devotee or the minds of the devotee. See, remember there was a song in by Srila Bhakti-śāstra Thakur. He explains how the holy name, we see when we read the 12th chapter of the Gita also, in one of the purports, Prabhupada will say, Krishna dances in the tongue of the pure devotee. You might have read it also before. So in one of the songs, Srila Bhakti-śāstra Thakur is explaining that how the Lord, he manifests in the, well, for one who is sincerely chanting the holy name of the Lord. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare. When chants the holy names of the Lord, then what the Lord does, the Lord manifests first in the heart, and then he dances in the tongue of the devotee, pure devotee. And then he says he's an autocrat. Krishna is an autocrat, means he takes complete control. He's not able to stop chanting the names of Krishna, because Krishna has taken control of this devotee. Exactly, this is what is being said here. So this, I alone appear within the functions of their minds. This Buddhi Yoga cannot be obtained at all from any other source, and it does not appear on its own. The statement means that realization of me is given only by me and received only by the devotee. No other process. Krishna personally, he gives this intelligence to this devotee. By this bhakti, they attain me. They attain direct association with me. Upayanti. They come near me. Okay, now Baladevi Dibhushan Prabhu, he gives the same point. So, but how is it possible for them to grasp you, who are infinite in form, qualities and powers, just through the teachings of a guru? For those who desire constant association with me, Satata Yuktanam, who worship me with pleasure and understanding me as I really am, I relishing their devotion to me, offer to them intelligence such that they can understand, worship and attain me with my infinite qualities and powers by which they attain me. So we saw that there are two ways. One is the Lord seated in the heart as Paramatma, is inspiring, and then the Lord also externally as this spiritual master, he inspires. So both the things are there. So this is the key factor. So that's what we have seen here, that how the Lord inspires the devotee. So it goes like this. Sometimes devotees ask question. So we need the mercy of Krishna. So Guru's mercy, is it different from the mercy of Srimati Radharani? This is also a very important philosophy. So the mercy flows like this. So ultimately Srimati Radharani, she recommends the devotee to Krishna. But then the mercy that we derive from her and from the Guru, it's non-different. In parampara, so that we serve our Guru passes it on to his spiritual master. And then from his spiritual master, it goes on to his spiritual master. Like that, the parampara, directly finally it goes to whom? It goes to Srimati Radharani. And then from there, it is offered to Krishna. So again, when it comes like this. So it's the same mercy that we receive. So that is the whole point. So we have to become Krishna conscious. We have to absorb our mind in Krishna. We have to, that's why when Srila Prabhupada named this society, he named it as International Society for Krishna Consciousness. Not money consciousness, not rules and regulations consciousness, not any other consciousness. Krishna consciousness, that we should remember. So then when we absorb ourselves, then we will be able to please the Supreme Lord and his devotees. So we should come out of this consciousness of I, me, mine, my family, my preferences. All these things should become secondary. Our primary focus should be in trying to please the Supreme Lord. So that is the thing. And okay, then there is a another incident that comes to my mind is that when someone is not qualified enough, sufficiently qualified, even he does not know how to read, still he can be in the topmost platform of devotion. We will see one conversation in the next lecture. I would like to refer how Srila Prabhupada himself is narrating it. Okay, one incident from Chaitanya Leela that comes to mind. Anything for you? Anybody remembers? An amazing incident. Yes, the Brahmana in Srirangam, who was not well versed in scriptures. In fact, he doesn't even know. He's not so much. He doesn't know how to read pronounce the Sanskrit also properly. So he was struggling but the Guru gave him instruction. You read Bhagavad Gita every day. So, but he was sincerely trying to please his spiritual master. And when every time he was taking the Bhagavad Gita book, he was in ecstasy, he was in tears, yeah. And when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came by that side, he was in great bliss seeing this devotee. And then he said that he has attained perfection in Krishna consciousness. Because when he asked him, why you are crying? He said that, but every time whenever I open the Bhagavad Gita, immediately what comes to me is my Supreme Lord as Partha Sarathi. When I just think of his great nature, how he is Bhakta Vatsala, how simply to please his devotee, he is ready to drive the chariot. I'm in tears. He was not able to control himself. That is the perfection of understanding Bhagavad Gita, understanding Krishna is Bhakta Vatsala, Krishna is the Supreme Lord who has got great affection to his devotees. Whereas others who may be there are some scholars who can speak on any subject matter. There are so many speakers. You ask them to speak about Bhagavad Gita, they can do analysis. They can give, how many verses are there, what are or they could even say, okay, tell me this keyword and how many shlokas are there with this keyword. Well, that is, if the scholarliness is combined with pure devotion, that's even, that's beautiful. But if it is just only scholarliness, Krishna is not, impressed by that. They will speak on this, and tomorrow, they may be well versed, they may even study some other scriptures. They may even glorify Muruga, they may glorify some other person, and tomorrow they may even take up a subject matter. They may be, they are well versed, they know so many subject matters. They can very expertly speak on some aeronautical science, and anything they will give presentation. Recently we went for a program, that whole month is being celebrated as the Bhakti month, that's how. But then there was a speaker who was going to speak next after when we spoke. After that, he is going to speak. He wanted to speak about how actually. We were just so much emphasizing in our talk about how Krishna is a person, how he is non-different from his name, and all those things. And finally, he said that, oh yes, we are going to continue our talk, and I'm going to. The main talk is that everything is one. That is what he's going to speak on. With this kind of an understanding, what will be the outcome of it? So this is the problem. So here, from these verses so far, what that we have seen in 3 verses, we understand that Krishna is pleased by pure devotion, and he is going to reveal himself to his pure devotee. So we will deal with the next verse tomorrow, and we will stop here. If you have any questions or comments, we will take one or two. Any questions, comment, realizations? So also, one amazing thing is that, this is our hope, right? When we see this, sometimes we are hopeless. If we engage in devotional service, Krishna is ready to help us. Krishna is there. Srila Prabhupada is there. His pure devotees are there. This is our hope. Otherwise, many times we are hopeless. The nature of this material world is like this. It pulls us down. We should stick to the lotus feet of Hari, Guru and Vaishnavas. Then we can progress. Okay, thank you very much. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Bhagavad Gita as it is ki jai. Hare Krishna.